Hi, this is Danny Doyle. I am joined by Jacob, and we are here once again at the end of a playthrough with sort of a not quite a tier list. Ignore the fact that it says FE tier list maker at the top. We're making a non-tier list.
I don't know. This looks a lot like a tier list to me.
So I talked about how 0% growth is not a context that you can really evaluate units in, like, that is true to their performance in-game. You want to know what a context you really can't fucking evaluate units in when they are all different classes. But I did kind of want to make this post-playthrough thing a tradition. And, in celebration of Lloyd just, like, pulling out those clutch dodges, just want to have a... This video is in honor of Lloyd. He's not on the list, but we're looking at the units we used. So not including any of the children we didn't get, and not including the children we didn't get. We're looking at the units that we got, and we're going to put them into categories based on whether we think they are improved or not improved or worse in the Heart Seal swap than they are in vanilla. And that's sort of what we're doing.
Alrighty.
I do want to start out by just throwing Corrin and Azura in same, just because they have not been changed at all. Like,
that makes sense.
Theoretically, you could talk about how Corrin has access to different classes than he normally would via friendship and marriage, and maybe units want different classes with his talents, and you could do a really in-depth analysis about that, but I don't fucking care. It's the same unit. It's basically
Actually, Azura belongs in improved because she had Darting Blow left over from where the ROM was fixed, which means she can technically have Darting Blow from level 1. I think that sounds like an improvement.
God. Oh my god.
It wouldn't be a tier list maker without debates and disagreements.
Well, speaking of debates and disagreements, let's start off with the extremely hot take. This sort of solidified my thoughts on Jacob and Felicia, in that I don't think they're especially good units. They are essentially Jagans you have to invest in. We can talk about Felicia first, since that is the one, we named it the Year of Felicia. Sort of started out heavily leaning on her, thinking that maybe her being a Bow Knight and having high strength instead of magic would make her good. But
I mean, early on she was a carry.
She was a carry. That's true.
She definitely... but I guess we're evaluating her raw DPS in this playthrough versus... She basically just becomes a debuff and a staff bot in vanilla.
Well, or you could use a Heart Seal. You could invest in her with a Heart Seal, turn her into a flyer of some sort, give her the Flame Shuriken. You can invest into her and make her decent. My biggest problem with the early servants, and we're evaluating Felicia based on early Felicia, but I do want to talk about early Jacob as well, because it's relevant to the conversation. They do sort of act as Jagans if you invest a Corrin marriage and a Heart Seal into them, but those are valuable resources early on. That means you can't get Wyvern Elise, basically. It means you can't get Archer Mozu. It means, Corrin marriage gets taken by someone. And your gold is limited too. So probably can't get Nosferatu, or you sacrifice some other thing, you sacrifice some forges, or you sacrifice some tonics or something. And they still fall off like any other Jagan would. A Malignite Jacob is just not going to do great in the late game. A Hero Felicia or a Flame Shuriken Felicia is not going to do great in the late game.
Yeah, I can kind of see that. I mean, she definitely wasn't our best unit midway on.
She started the train of people dying and not resetting for them.
But I guess the real question is, did you think her performance was better in this playthrough, or do you think she performs better in a vanilla playthrough?
I would say she's improved here, because she can actually act as Jagan without consuming resources. Like, I gave her Corn Marriage, and I probably shouldn't have. There were probably better candidates, like maybe Mozu.
Probably.
But, I mean, Mozu let us give Midori, Spendthrift, I don't know. There were probably better candidates for Corn Marriage. I don't know who else really wanted Archer, though. If I was playing more optimally, I could have given a better Corn Marriage to someone. But I do think she's better, because she acts as an actual Jagan. Yes.
And then she fell off halfway through the game.
Late Servant, probably I would put in same. Like, Felicia right here is standing for Early Servant, so early Felicia or early Jacob. I think the improvement is you don't have to spend a heart seal on them to make them a Jagan. Jacob is standing for Late Servant because he was our Late Servant. I would say same, because, like, did we even fucking take him off the bench?
I don't think so.
And that's my experience with Late Servant, is, like, they show up, and unless you love the character, you're not using them.
They show up at level 14, which is technically level 14 unpromoted, like halfway through the game, and it's just kind of like, I don't really need you right now.
I guess he's slightly improved because he's more than just a staff bot. Like, I could have, if I had enough casualties, I could have pulled him out as, like, a decent combat unit.
That's true.
Like, I didn't need staff bots. I was capturing staff bots left and right, and I had, like, too many troubadours.
And if you want to talk Jacob in particular, he started as a Great Knight, and that can give some decent, like, parrot bonuses.
Yeah, and
they
combined
give, like, defensive move.
Yeah, no, it's good parrot bonuses, and he could be a Corrin backpack as well, because of,
for evasive partner.
Which is not great, but, like, again, standing in the place of Late Servant.
Yes.
I would say improved, but, like, just barely. And still not great. Like, it's sort of...
The later partner is always just kind of a whatever.
Which I think is... I mean, just to add to my... We're doing a tier list video. Let's do the controversy anyway. I think it's a condemnation of the early partner, because the early partner is only a higher level because you've invested in them. And they're still not going to be too great.
No, I don't think the partner's going to be amazing late game, unless you just keep them as, like, some kind of staff bot or something.
I mean, their growths just aren't great. And, like, yeah, growths aren't everything, but, like, their bases aren't either. They really feel like a Jake and you have to invest in, and that's just, like, I'm not interested in that.
And they're not getting promo bonuses.
Yeah! Yeah, even though they're technically, like, internal level counts them as unpromoted, they never get promo bonuses. That is a good point. Although I guess second sealing them out of Butler into, like, a class that actually does something kind of functions like promo bonuses.
I guess it all depends if they're, like, using, like, Maiden Butler, like, class bases or not.
I'm not sure. But I think, for our purposes, it's only important that they're improved, right? What do you think about Kaze? I'll let you go first on this one, because I have some thoughts.
He started as a Myrmidon, or a Samurai, and I think we pretty much immediately reclassed him out of it. Although, didn't we make him a Dread? Was he one of our Dreads?
He was one of our Dreads.
I mean, you can't go wrong with the Dread.
I don't think we should factor that in when evaluating him, though.
That is true.
Because that's favoritism we could have given, like, we could have given Silas. We could have made Silas a Dread Fighter.
So, in that case...
Can you imagine fucking Vow of Friendship on a Dread Fighter?
Ooh, that would be wild.
Oh my god!
In this case, other than getting Vantage, like, the only thing I think this really does is that if you want to do, like, Vantage strats, you don't have to spend a Heart Seal to send him to Samurai, and then spend another one to send him back to Ninja. I guess technically that's better, but it means he'll have a bad Shuriken rank whenever you go to make him into a Ninja, so he's going to be starting with just Bronze Shurikens. I I don't know. There's parts of how I can say that he's a little better, and there's parts how we can say he's a little worse. But I think the weapon rank would just be so awful to have to deal with. And keeping him in the samurai class just sounds miserable.
Yeah, you kind of summed up my thoughts. The only other thing is, and I don't even know if I should hold this against him, the idea of getting a steel katana instead of a steel shuriken is so rage-inducing.
I think that should. I mean, it almost acts like... I know it's technically starting inventory, but you're missing out on a really good weapon because his class was changed. I do think that should be factored into it. Just like how I think it should factor into Shura's whenever we talk about how he joined with a barbed shuriken instead of a killer bow.
That's fair. I'm tempted to go same because I do really value... Like, it's basically free vantage on a ninja because he starts with it, so you don't have to go through samurai. But it does mean...
at a high enough level.
It does mean you have to spend a heart seal on him if you want him to be a ninja. And you can make a forge for him. Like, a forged bronze shuriken is... Like, if you don't have the steel shuriken, which you don't, a forged bronze shuriken is pretty good.
Yeah, you're just missing out on the steel shuriken if you could have had it. And you're missing out on even just using it like a forged iron so you can have like crit chances and stuff.
I don't think you want to crit as a ninja though. Like, I really think not critting as a ninja is good because you don't accidentally kill on your first hit. Because, like, ninjas are a lot bulkier than their stats lend them credit to because they double and they build guard gauge so quickly at 1-2 range. So they're usually taking about 2/3 of the attacks they normally would be taking. Sometimes even half if you, like, get lucky in terms of, like, the way that guard gauge lines up. And that, stacked on top of the fact they're pretty dodgy, allows them to tank pretty well. And then adding vantage onto that, which, like, is something that's in his kit normally, but you do have to go through samurai to get it.
'Tis very true.
What are your thoughts? He's definitely not improved. I don't know whether...
Yeah, it's definitely not improved.
I don't know whether the cost of the heart seal outweighs the benefit of not having to do levels in samurai. Because when you're doing levels in samurai, you're using a fucking bronze katana, and that's garbage.
Yeah... I mean, his weapon rank started at 0. And again, if we want to count the steel shuriken against him,
I don't. It makes me feel bad, but I don't think it's his fault. I don't count the steel shuriken against him.
Okay, I've always personally put a little bit more value into starting inventory than a lot of other people. I believe starting inventory does have some manner of weight to a unit because it's something they bring to the table. But I can see why some people don't. But I do see why some people... You can
immediately hand it to someone else, though.
Yeah, but it's something that they provided because you recruited them. If you had not recruited that unit, you wouldn't have it.
Every unit auto-recruits in Conquest, though. Other than Nyx.
Oh, wow, you're right.
Nyx is the only unit in Conquest that doesn't automatically recruit, unless you count Shura's Boots' decision as not being auto-recruit, which I don't. Because, like, you don't have to do anything to get him. You just choose to give up Boots.
I guess technically Keaton you also have to talk to.
Oh, sure, okay. But, like, it just feels like...
But no, yeah,
you can't
I
count
get
the
it.
steel you can't count the lack of steel shuriken against him, because you get him no matter what. Like, I don't agree with your logic outside of Conquest as well, but even just for the sake of not getting into a big argument on this tier list and moving along, like, can we accept that if you're auto-recruited, then your equipment doesn't really, like, I would get it anyway. I would get it if Kaze died on turn 1, because it gets warped to the convoy.
That's true.
Like, if the first turn that Kaze was available, he just instantly got crit from across the map by a stone tosser, I would still get the steel katana instead of the steel shuriken.
In which case, I would put him in same.
Okay.
If we're considering the fact that him being reclassed into a samurai rids you of a better weapon, then I would put him in worse. But this is your list on your video. I'm going to go with same then.
I think it's close. Like, I think there are upsides and downsides. And more interesting to me than just, like, putting them in improved, same, and worse is, like, talking about what feels better and what feels worse.
Speaking of what felt better or worse...
I really want to put Silas in worse. I'm not going to put him there yet, because I kind of want to talk through my thoughts. Vow of Friendship, so good. And his stats weren't that different, as I think he probably has, like, better combat stats. Not having movement and not having access to Cavalier skills felt bad.
Yeah, we missed out on Elbow Room, which was 3 free damage, in place of, like, Good Fortune or something. And...
Quick Riposte, I think.
Oh, quick! That's right. You get Stronger Post, and then you get Good Fortune, I think.
And then we missed out on Shelter, which, like, early Shelter singing would have been nice.
Can be really helpful. There's also, like, time-based objective. I guess we technically had Arthur to fill in for, like, getting the villages or whatever. So
sure, I guess but I think Silas not being able to do that still, like, counts as points against him.
True. It is a way that he's technically worse in the run.
And it makes him less flexible for, like... I remember in Fort Dragonfall, right? We had to get someone across the map really quickly to save Azura from ambush spawns. And we used Niles, because Niles had high movement. Silas couldn't do it. Silas had to go choke a different point.
And he's locked into only swords. He doesn't get the sword and lance weapon variety.
Yeah, and the weapon triangle is actually pretty important in... I think... Swords are not the worst thing to be locked into, but they're certainly not the best. They have pretty good hit.
All of the ninjas and spearmen of the early game, though.
And you face a lot of lance and shuriken enemies in the early game.
So having to deal with all of those with only swords was just really annoying.
And you face samurais too, which, like, he doesn't get lances to get weapon triangle advantage over them.
True. So I will say he is worse.
I think he's still a good unit. Like, we kind of didn't do him justice in the playthrough. I think a Merc Silas is still good because Vow of Friendship is fucking bonkers. And, like, you could stack Vow of Friendship with, like, Swift Riposte and stuff, probably. But I do think he's worse.
Yeah. We tried to make him work. Like, we were going to bench him for a while, and then we tried to use him again whenever we got some good weapons, and then we just slowly stopped using him again, because he just underwhelmed us.
You know who is unironically just, like, this unit has one flaw? Well, this unit has 2 flaws, and we fixed them? Fucking Shura.
Like, Shura's so cool.
In vanilla, the only flaws that Shura has, other than availability... bad starting class, and when you class him into a better one, bad weapon ranks. And as a ninja, suddenly good class, good weapon ranks. Like,
yes, he starts with a C rank in knives. Mm-hmm. He was a master ninja, right?
He was a master ninja, so he had knives and swords.
So he started with the C rank in knives, at least. I don't remember what his base bow rank is.
Well, he had swords, not bows.
No, I mean, like, they...
as an adventurer?
Yeah, when they reclassed him, they, like, brought their weapon ranks over as well.
It probably matches.
Which I imagine they probably gave his staff rank to his sword rank.
Yeah, because that's the secondary.
Which means he would have had, like, C shuriken, D swords.
Sounds about right.
I just looked him up. Yeah, that's what it would have been. Going off of our logic, then yes. So he can use, like, better knives earlier on.
Doesn't cost you a heart seal as well.
Yeah, it doesn't cost us a heart seal.
Which, you know, it's not as scarce as the early game, but it's still a valuable resource. I ran out.
That's 2,000 gold you don't have to spend.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And, yeah, he's good. I love Shura. He's a great unit. So and not being stuck in bronze is good. Like, not being stuck in... I just talked about, like, bronze shuriken being, like, fine. Like, good. If you forge it. But, like, having options is still good.
Yeah, it's... E-rank weapon is just... So, you have no flexibility in what weapons you can use. Just feels bad.
You know who had a lot of flexibility in what weapons he could use? Our Master of Arms.
Master of Arms. The one that you kept using to debuff your allies.
You start with this. You start with him.
So, okay, I'm not saying this for meme purposes, but I am going to say, off the top of my head, follow me on this, I'm going to say worse. Because as Master of Arms, he's going to be up in the thick of the action with your other units, debuffing them. Whereas if he were just a staff unit, he could use like status staves, physic, and staves like that to stay away from your units to stop debuffing them. Or you can like heal someone and then run forward with them out of his range to go fight an enemy.
Yeah, I agree. Master of Arms is just a bad class too.
Now, I guess you could argue that as a Master of Arms, he can try to fend for himself. Like, you send him out there kind of by himself.
You saw how fucking well that worked.
Yeah. So I would say worse, just because he's going to be with your other units, debuffing them more. Whereas if you were just a staff guy, it'd be easier to keep him away from the action.
I think you're right. I'll tackle Mozu, my fucking favorite.
You spoiled this one for me whenever you first told me we were doing this.
I think it's improved, but it's close to same. Mozu basically performed the same as she was in vanilla, but you don't have to use the initial heart seal to get her out of villager into archer, which is an improvement. There's something to be said about her losing access to the growth rates boosting skill. That name I can't remember.
Aptitude?
Aptitude, yeah. And it's possible that I just got lucky, but I think mine turned out fine without that boost. It's like, is it 10% or 20%? It's a non-trivial boost. But I think she still has pretty good growths without it. And not having to spend that heart seal in the early game means that you can use her in the early game, since she's the only paralog unit that doesn't... she doesn't scale by doing her paralog later, so you want to do it early, so you can get access to her early, if you're going to use her, if you want to invest in her. And... yeah, archers are one of the best classes. Like, it's where you want to be if you're a bow user. Is either be archer, so you can go sniper, or be Kinchi Knight. Like, you either want the flight and movement, or you want the incredibly good stats and incredibly good skills. And she has access to both. She also now benefits from Nyx's friendship, which is something that, like, previously Nyx would benefit from, so you could do, like, shining bow shit, but Mozu wouldn't. Because Mozu can't do anything as a sorcerer, other than, like... I mean, you can meme around and, I don't know, kill the final boss in 0% growths as a sorcerer. I've seen it. But, like, realistically, I think that, like, the gain from her friendship set, the gain from, like, just to be able to get move +1, the gain from not having to spend a heart seal early makes her a lot freer to use in the early game. I think that more than counteracts the growth rate difference. And I would say she's improved, because I used her much the same as I would in vanilla, but I didn't have to spend a heart seal on her.
So if you want to know the exact numbers, I just looked them up for you. Aptitude is a 10% boost to all of your growths.
So it's non-trivial, but it's not like... she still has decent growth without it.
I looked up her growth rates as an archer. She still has, with no bonuses, it's 65% strength, 80% speed, 55% defense, just to name some of them. And that's not including her 75% skill, 60% luck, stuff like that. So there's still growth unit growths.
Yeah,
you're just missing out on the 10%.
This isn't the case like Cyril, where he relies on aptitude to have good growths. Like, Mozu is a growth unit. Aptitude just makes it overkill. And, like, that is something you're losing out on. You can dip into Villager if you care about it. I clearly didn't. Mine turned out fine. It's possible I got lucky, but those are really good growths. Like, I think on average she'd still be fine.
I think so, too. Plus, with the way Fate's, like, you're guaranteed to get a stat or something, so it doesn't... I don't know. I think she would have been fine either way. I think she's better because you don't have to spend an early heart seal or 2k gold on a heart seal for her.
Well, you only have 2 heart seals available. One from the shop and one from Hitaka.
Right.
So even if you're spending 2k gold, like, it is one of your 2 limited ones. And there's a lot of units who want heart seals. Some of them need it. Like, she needs it early if she's going to be viable. Some of them can wait. She and Elise and the Servant are the 3 that really can't wait. So, like, if you really want to use your Servant as a Jagan, if you really want to use Elise as a Wyvern, and you really want to use Mozu as an Archer, you have to pick 2. Everyone else, like, can benefit from it. Corrin can benefit from it if you do a talent that helps Corrin. And, I mean, if you want to get Vantage early with Odin, you can do that. But, like, they're the 3 that are fighting over the only 2 available, if you really want them. And she, like, Elise and the Servant are both viable as, like, you can use them as a healer, they're just worse. She's not viable as a villager. She's really not.
Very cringe as a villager.
Like, if you don't make her an archer, she's not worth deploying.
I think, like, her stats go up if you reclass her, funnily enough, because I think villagers just have really bad, really bad class bases.
I think it's more that archers have very good class bases. It could be both.
Because archers have, like, 5 strength, or villagers have 5 strength, 5 speed, 4 defense. Oh, wow, they're, like, the exact same class bases. That can't be right. No, they're not exactly the same, but they're just about.
Do you want to move on to your favorite unit?
Rawr, rawr, rawr.
Say the line, Bart. Say the line.
That's Dragon 4. We never used this unit.
Yeah. I mean, she's unchanged, though, so I would say same. Easy.
Yeah, I guess so. We just never used her.
Our Sophie was really good, but we got her so late that I don't know if I can... Like, she was basically a Goto. I don't know if I can judge her.
Well, we got... Technically, we were able to get easy Hagakure Blade on her. Because starting as a mercenary going to hero meant that her sword rank was buffed really high. Whereas if she was a cavalier, it would have buffed her lance rank really high. And we'd have had to spend 2 arm scrolls to get her up to a swords.
Okay, unironically, actual argument. Level 15 skills for Hero and Bow Knight, which you get for free by waiting on her for Offspring Seal, are better than level 15 skills for Great Knight and Paladin. Because Great Knight and Paladin, it is Armored Blow and Aegis. And Hero and Bow Knight get Breaker skills. Which Breaker skills, like, situationally useful, but, like, Axe Breaker good.
Yeah.
We saw the power of Axe Breaker against one of the 2 final bosses has an axe.
Yeah, I mean, one of them gets Shuriken Breaker and one of them gets Garen Breaker. So I think she was improved because we didn't have to work towards getting Bulwark Breaker.
It's small, but it's an improvement. On that same logic, Mozu can't get Spendthrift through the level 15 skill, or Midori can't get Spendthrift through the level 15 skills. So I'd say that's worse. That's
true. Yeah, her options are getting, like, Replicate easy or Shuriken very easy.
Like, I love her as a unit, but it's hard to deny that her main utility in Conquest is get her in the final chapter, use her to kill Takumi. Set her up as, like, a, eugenics baby. These ones, by the way, are the people that we did, like, female Corrin and people we didn't get. Like, kids we didn't get. And then, like, Fuga shows up in neutral for some reason, even though we don't have access to him. I don't know why. I guess because he's only in Rev. But we're not going to be talking about them. We are going to be talking about Gunter. Jacob, do you want to talk about Gunter?
Sure. The other Felicia for the first like 2 chapters because we got 2 rangers to start the game off.
So his arm.
Oh yes, his weird looking arm the whole time. Whenever he came back, like he was still kind of cool, but I think we were really missing his bulk in his joining chapter again. Like as a Great Knight, he can give good like defense parrot bonuses, and just as an Armor Knight, he has better defense. And I noticed we were really missing that in the chapter he comes back in. Like we just didn't have a unit that could take a couple hits. So I think that is definitely against him.
My biggest strike against him, Bow Knight was probably the worst class for him to get put in.
Yeah,
because the ranks don't overlap. Like Wyvern has lances and axes. Great Knight has lances and axes. Like anything he reclassed into wasn't gonna have bows and swords, other than like I guess he could have gone hero, but like you want him to be a Wyvern or a Great Knight, or I guess a Paladin. Like he could have swords, I guess, on some of them. So you can probably hear Frog in the background. She's meowing. Yes, BB.
So yeah, the fact that it gave him bows, it just meant that you couldn't really mess with the reclassing without having to really mess up his weapon ranks.
Yeah, because bows was his priority too. I think he had Ian swords, right?
I don't recall off the top of my head.
I know that as a Great Knight, he only has good ranks in like axes, which is why you sent him Wyvern instead of sending him Paladin. Maybe. I might be misremembering. But I feel like his weapon ranks are pretty bad, other than
so it looks like
one.
It looks like he has B lances, C axes, D swords. So I imagine they probably did like B bows, C swords or something.
Okay, so maybe it's not as big a problem as I thought.
E-rank
axes, though, for going Wyvern. Like, he can't go Malignite. I mean, he can, he just has bronze. Which, I mean, weapon rank isn't as big a deal as it is in other games, but it's still, like, it's a point against him. And they get bonuses based on weapon rank, too.
Yeah, you get weapon rank bonuses, so it's less of a, oh, he has E instead of D. It's more of a, when you eventually hit B rank, it's, oh, I could have had A rank right now and gotten better bonuses.
Yeah.
I think that's often overlooked when it comes to discussing stuff like weapon ranks and stuff. It's not, what's my benefits now? It's, I have to work even harder to get the rank that I want later.
You know who did work really hard? Speaking of, like, working harder? Fucking Wyvern Elise. Like, are we even gonna argue that she belongs anywhere other than improved?
That was so much fun.
I am a full-on believer in Wyvern Elise.
She had no hit on anything early on. But it was so much fun. Now, I guess we
had a fucking also flyer in the Swamp chapter.
We do have to keep in mind that this was with the magic and strength swapped, so she was definitely like a better Wyvern than she would be in vanilla.
Yes, but I still think she'd be good in vanilla as a Wyvern.
But that means she's just still better because it meant that she got to use her overkill magic as strength.
What do we think about Arthur?
He was very average. He was just kind of... He just didn't do anything. Like, he's just kind of... I don't really know how to describe it. Like, we dropped him fairly early on because he just wasn't helping very much.
I mean, that's kind of the Arthur experience unless you make him a Berserker backpack, right?
Yeah, also your screen just went away on me.
Oh no. Here, we'll go live.
Let's try again.
Technical difficulties. Would you say same or worse? I'm leaning worse because no Berserker backpack option.
Yeah, like at least in same, you can get into level 10 do literally nothing.
Shelter swap shit.
I guess yeah. At level 10, you can shelter swap. I didn't think about that.
Like
but in vanilla, you can just like get him to level 10, give him the first master seal if you want to, and just make him a backpack for everyone.
Ah, the Baruka experience.
Pretty much. So which one do you think is better? Being an early Berserker backpack or shelter singing?
I mean, shelter singing is really fucking good.
I don't think we used it very much, did we?
Yeah, because we didn't use Arthur. I think in the hands of a more talented player than me, shelter singing would be better than Berserker backpack.
Possibly. And he had to fill that niche role of like crossing the map. Like ferrying units back and forth.
Because Niles did that, but that's because we gave him the Ebon Wing, and I don't think we can count that. Like, that's something Arthur did for free.
So they definitely don't outweigh missing out on Berserker bonuses, but they keep him from being worse, I think is the way to look at it.
Yes. Effie's worse, though. Like, she was just a generic fucking troubadour. What the fuck is this unit?
Puissance. We never got to see that trigger.
And we never will.
We promoted her. Benched her for like 3 maps, and then started using her again.
We benched her for far more than 3 maps, Jacob.
Yeah, she was basically just Elise if you leave her as a staffer. Is all she was. She just heals people, which you need. But
she was Elise if you leave her as a staffer and you don't have Lily's poise.
Or super high magic.
Yeah. It's garbage.
So yeah, it's definitely worse.
Odin worse. We're on the streak of what the fuck is this unit? Oh my god. They took... Granted, he takes investment, but he is one of the better units in Conquest if you give him that investment. He takes a lot of investment. But they took him and then they turned him into a fucking samurai, and I will never forgive them. And the magic strength swap.
Yeah, you couldn't even put him back in the
This is the unit most hurt by it.
Like, at least with... If it hadn't been swapped, you could just throw him back into Dark Mage, work with him more, but with the strength and magic swapped around, like, he's stuck with worse... He's literally worse, even if you just reclass him back and that costs you a heart seal. The only thing I can think of is that you can somehow get him to level 10, get Vantage, go to Dark Mage, and do funny Vantage Nosferatu strats.
It just seems bad.
It's the only good thing I can think of.
But like he can do that in vanilla with better magic.
It just costs you an extra heart seal. I'm not saying he belongs in Same or Improved. I'm saying it's the only good thing about him starting in Samurai.
Well, but without the magic, Nosferatu's not going to heal him enough. He's not going to kill people, and he will still die.
In other words, he's bad.
What about Niles?
I mean, he didn't spend very much time as a Dark Mage. Like, we kind of just made him a Dark Flyer.
Yeah, I worry that I'm biased because of that. Because he, like, became a Jagan.
Wait, but if you think about it, because he was a Dark Mage, he had a higher tome rank at base.
Yeah, I don't think we count the Ebon Wing, though. I don't think we count Ebon Wing.
I guess we can't really... Like, didn't he die as a Dark Falco Knight, too?
No, he died as a Dark Knight.
Alright, we made him a Dark Knight for a while there.
I think hitting on res lets him capture more easily, and 1-2 range and Heartseek. Like, he can Heartseeker for himself for a capture.
That's what I was about to ask, if his capture game improved at all by using tomes.
I think he becomes a better capturer because he has 1-2 range, and he can capture from range, and he can hit on res. Which you can do with the Shining Bow, but...
You don't get the Shining Bow until quite a bit later, unless you buy it.
Yeah. Well, you have to buy it. It's only purchasable. Unless you're talking about the one in Nina's Paralog.
Oh, right, you get the one in Nina's Paralog, that's right.
You get that one for free, but then you have to buy... Like, I bought 2 of them. You have to buy them. Nyx? Nyx is pretty mid.
Yeah.
In every scenario.
I don't really think we did much with her other than open chest and give Outlaw to Mozu.
And, like, all I usually do with Nyx is make her a backpack, like a magic backpack. I think there's funny shiny bow things you can do if you give her Mozu friendship, but, like, I don't know, Nyx feels like one of the worst units in Conquest.
I guess, technically, like, by her being an outlaw, it meant Mozu could get move +1 without having to marry Niles.
That's a benefit for Mozu, though. That's not a benefit for Nyx. I
mean, I guess it's a way Nyx has improved in comparison to Vanilla, but that is like one little bitty niche.
I don't count that as an improvement for Nyx.
That's very niche.
Like, that feels like a huge stretch. I think she's just the same.
I mean...
She was a bad unit who had niche uses and then got dropped when we got better people, right?
Instead of doing 1-2 range magic chip, she opened chest.
And she hung out with Mozu a punch?
Yeah, I'd say same. Like, she went from backpack utility to chest opening utility.
Camilla.
Now we need to talk about your favorite unit.
I'll let you start because I'm so excited to talk about Big Booba.
So she starts as a Dark Knight. We kind of threw her around in some different classes.
She ended up just in the same path she usually is.
Didn't she? I think she ended as like a Wyvern Lord though, right?
Yeah, but I think that's where she usually ends up, right? I usually reclass her to Wyvern Lord. Just for better
as a Dark
stats.
Knight, I mean, she kind of fills the same role as like hybrid physical magic attacker. I think Dark Knight hurts her in her joining chapter, especially when there's all those Pegasus Knights flying around.
No flying.
And you can't just fly up and steel axe the Pegasus Knights.
There's a couple other points where not having a flying Camilla hurts. Not being able to dual club,
and
what's her name? Reyna is another one.
And being stuck with 2 red weapons, whereas having a red and green weapon, she's stuck with swords and tomes.
You've convinced me.
Yeah, I do think she's worse. I can't think of anything.
She's still good.
Yeah, she's good. She's just worse. I can't think of any upsides Dark Knight gave her.
Yeah, she already had tomes.
She's
slightly
like
bulkier, I guess.
Not being weak to arrows, I guess. Like there's a few archers in the port chapter and like some of the other later chapters.
Not being weak to Wormslayer also.
I guess that's something, but it's not like you want. It's not like a case of Mozu where you want to go to Archer. Like she doesn't want to go to Dark Knight at any point. So it's not like it even. It's not like it even freed up Heartseal use.
Like she gets Heartseeker and Malefic Aura,
which is kind of.
They're good. They're good skills, but
I don't think it's worth missing out on the early flying in the Axe rank.
And she just becomes another unit competing for those early Heartseals.
Yes, because she wants to get out of Dark Knights. We
didn't really use Severa? I always forget which one's the Fates one and which one's the Awakening one.
So, I'm going to go out on a limb. I have not used Selena very much in the late game in Vanilla. But she did help as a flyer a couple times, or at least once or twice. Or at least once, because she was able to fly Baruka across the water at one point.
Mm-hmm.
And she flew someone up to go open the rescue staff chest.
She misses out on being able to be a Bow Knight pair up, but she can get rally speed, I guess, which is, like, good.
Yeah, if you take her to Falco Knight, she can get rally speed eventually. So I think...
I'd say that's an improvement.
Because I don't think she's all that special in vanilla. I don't think so, from what I've heard from other people. Like, she's just kind of someone who shows up and helps out.
But you can instant promote her, and like that's nice.
She filled in Baruka's flying role, pretty much. Wasn't... Because you get Elise... was our first flyer, and then Selena was the second one.
Yes.
So she helps fill in that second role of being the flyer that can help.
Niles was our second one.
Technicality.
Felicia was our third. Too many flyers, man.
Yeah, is that why you kept killing them off?
Speaking of flyers, not Baruka. The pantsless wonder herself.
So... she helped out a lot later as, like, just pair-up backpack.
Yeah, just pairing her with Laszlo.
So that was really, really helpful. I don't really know what you do with her in vanilla otherwise. You just make her a Wyvern Lord and go crazy.
Yeah, she's like a slightly worse Camilla, but like she's still a Wyvern. Wyverns are good.
Yeah. But in this case, she did... Yeah, I mean, because instead of getting... a flyer, you're getting a backpack.
A good backpack too. Like, damn, I value being a backpack.
Really helpful.
I mean, Laszlo's improved, right? Like, obviously ours is biased because Dreadfighter, but just Ninja's a better class than Mercenary.
Yes, ours was on crack, but he was better. He had the high base shuriken rank, which meant we could get to like Soldier Knife easier, and to... I mean, because you saw, as we were getting into those last chapters, we were like, wow, how does this person not have this weapon rank yet? So I think him starting with those C shurikens let him get to those really high weapon ranks early on. Whereas if you would have had to change him into a ninja, he would not have hit like the A rank that we needed him to be at.
Also, being a ninja with the strength of a mercenary is real fucking good, because, like, one of the reasons shurikens are not a great... Like, one of the things that's supposed to make shurikens bad is their low might. But, like, if you have high strength, who cares if you're throwing a low might weapon? Like, you're 1-2 ranging really high... Like, he has this... His base strength is the strength you would expect a merc to have, and his personal growth is not terrible either.
Who cares that the knife had 0 might? We were using a brave knife to throw his 34 strength at the enemy 4 times.
Perry performed the same to me as she usually does. She died in her joining chapter.
I was about to ask what even happened with her. I could not remember what her fate was.
She died in her fucking joining chapter. It's a shame that I hate Perry so much. Like, I just think she's a pretty mid-unit. Because she's got trans hair, and that's nice. But she's a... You know what? Fuck Perry. Fuck Perry. She doesn't give her hair to her... She doesn't give the fucking cotton candy hair to her kids. Worst unit in the fucking game. Nyx gets saved by Perry being slightly worse than her because I hate that. I want cotton candy hair kids.
She provided Heartseeker in her joining chapter. Is that an improvement?
She provided death in her joining chapter.
What on earth was Benny again? Was he a fighter?
He was a fighter. I think it's improved because he still has like all the bulk that an Armor Knight would have. He just ends up like also being a fighter, and he can go Berserker and just be...
And he joins promotion ready.
He does.
So you
we
can
didn't
just
use him because like there just wasn't room, but I do think he's improved, and I think could be a good unit.
I think so too. I think he would have been good.
Worse.
Definitely.
Like just a fucking generic troubadour.
She was basically just like Effie. Just
yeah.
She just staff bot, and that was it.
And I would say the same goes for Leo. Slightly better because like Brynhilder Knife, funny meme. But let's be honest. He was a staff bot, and he wasn't gonna be anything more than a staff bot. And in vanilla, he is so fucking good. He's a bulky 1-2 range that hits on res. Like, holy shit.
Meanwhile, in this, The Brennholder knife just had no might. Like, it just didn't do anything. And he just turned into a staff bot.
Well, and because he was stuck with Butler class bases, he lost his bulkiness. Like, even his personal defense and red stuff couldn't save him from just being
in such a poor class.
Butlers and strategists, I mean strategists especially, but butlers are not that far behind, are just not bulky units. No matter what you do with them, they're just gonna not. Yeah.
And it's another case of there's no reason you'd ever want. I think an easy way to think about if someone's better or worse is, would you ever want to take the time to reclass someone into the class that they started as? And no, we would not have wanted to reclass Leo into a butler for any reason. So I think forcing him to start in that class so that you'd have to spend a heart seal to get him out of it is evidence that it's just worse, because you'd have to spend the limited heart seal to get him out of a bad class.
He also has less flexibility. In vanilla, with the Brynhilder as a tome and with decent tome rank, if you decide, I don't want him to be a tank, I want him to be a glass cannon, you can go Sorcerer. You can get Nosferatu. You can get him to S and use Excalibur, or whatever the fuck it was called. Is it Excalibur or is it something else?
It's Excalibur.
So, like, he's flexible in that regard. There are no other knife classes. Like, it is go ninja or go butler. And he, like, he would have to get married to, like, Kagero in Revelations in order to get ninja. Or a female Corrin. Like, you would have to spend Corrin marriage on him to have him be able to reclass into something. Which means
so
you can't skill stack him. Or you reclass into a magic class, suddenly you're at E-rank tomes. Suddenly you can't use your personal weapon. Like, it just doesn't seem good.
Definitely worse. Stabs were nice, but anyone could have provided that. Charlotte could have provided that.
We could have used Lewin. Like, we could have used Lloyd and Lewin.
Yeah. Definitely worse.
I would say Keaton is the same. He was a backpack. I always make him a backpack. And it's even the same stats. It's strength and speed, just like the distribution was different.
So, you mentioned you always just use him as a backpack, right? Like as a Berserker backpack?
Well, I use him as a Wolfgeiser backpack.
Oh, okay.
But this time he was a Berserker backpack. Like, they're similar. They both... I think Wolfgeiser does an even amount of strength and speed. It's like 4 of each, or 3 of each or something. And Berserker does more strength than speed. I don't remember the exact numbers, and I'm too lazy to look it up.
That makes sense. I was going to say, if you always reclassed him, then I would say that follows the same logic as Mozu, but since you don't usually reclass him, then yeah, it's just same.
I mean, Wolfgeister is a good backpack class. I guess axes are slightly better than stones, but... Yeah, I'm not really...
I think it's negligible.
Are we comfortable saying
better?
Xander's improved, right?
I would say he was better.
Like, the fact that he had it as an axe meant that he could go into Great Knight or Hero or Wyvern or Malig and still maintain use of the Siegfried?
Yes.
His sword, his magic sword.
Yes, I think it was definitely improved. I think just having it as an axe was just a better weapon.
Starting as a flyer on his joining map too, where you can't reclass him because he's auto-deployed, is nice because that is a map where you want flyers so you can attack the 4 different Shuras from different angles.
So that was definitely helpful. Yeah, I think definitely improved. Just, it's everything a paladin could be, but he flies.
Flora went from being a staff unit that you don't need with bad ranks to a combat unit that you don't need with bad ranks. I would say same.
I would say she went from passable staff unit to unusable.
Passable? You can get fucking maids in the chapter she joins with higher rank. I don't want to argue though, so I'll put her in worse.
Like, think about it. In a vacuum, with like Flora and one other unit, she can at least heal the person that she's deployed with. As a combat unit, she was absolute garbage.
She was so bad. She was so bad. Oh my god, you're right. Okay, Soleil. I've never used... Oh no, I used her once and she died. And I used her this time and she died. Does that mean same? I mean, I think same logic as Laszlo. Like, Ninja's a better class, right?
Yeah, I would say if you're gonna throw Laszlo up there for that reason, I think she belongs up there too. Same thing with Valoria. She just did the same thing her dad does.
Oh, hell no. She was a combat unit. She was a berserker. I would say
Keaton.
Improved. Keaton was more backpack than anything.
I guess as a kid unit, like, she was just better. Because child units tend to be better. Who was her mom again?
I think Baruga.
I think it was Camilla.
Oh, it was Camilla, you're right, yeah. I've used Valoria once, and I immediately reclassed her into Berserker because she gets that from Keaton. And I think that's a much better class for her than Wolfgeiser. I think that Valoria works as a combat unit, and I don't think Keaton does. I mean, everyone works as a combat unit if you, like, invest in them enough. But I think Valoria more freely works as a Berserker combat unit. I think just starting in it made her... Like, she was killing things in the final map.
Yeah, you're right. I can see that.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna put her in Improved, right?
Yeah, I can see that. So looking back over the list, do any of them look out of place to you at all? You're so mean.
Like, comment, and subscribe for, we miss you every day, Felicia.
Every like is another heart filled on the personal quarters for Felicia.
It is. I guess I should talk about our next project too.
Yeah, we should probably do that.
I'm not sure when, but the next thing I'm planning on playing through with Jacob is Birthright 0% growths. I might take a little bit of a break between now and then. And I do have a couple of pre-recorded solo projects that I could put up in the meantime if it ends up, like, eating into the backlogs or whatever. But as of right now, my plan is the next thing is to tackle Birthright 0% growths, because I'm not satisfied with the ending of Conquest. I feel like if we went a different route, like, Elise died. There's all this pointless bloodshed. What if we went into it, we played a different route, and Elise didn't die? So that's why I'm gonna go Birthright, because, I mean, if Elise isn't under my control, she's not in any danger, right?
That just means she's a green unit. You saw what happened to the green units in Sophie's Paralog.
Thank you for joining. Thank you, Jacob, for joining as well.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Felicia, for your sacrifice. It won't be forgotten. And thank you, Elise, for being the best damn green unit out there. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Hi, Danny here. So, quick addendum. I am still planning on doing Birthright 0% growths with Jacob. But because we are currently, because I'm currently streaming on Fridays, which is when Jacob and I usually record, and then when Jacob and I have recording time, we are doing Ice Lake Super Randomizer. I have decided instead to occupy most of the upload time with FE4 0% growth in order to sort of catch up that one, and introduce an Awakening 0% growths playthrough that is just me on my own. It's fully finished already, it just needs to be edited, and there's a little bit of post-commentary that needs to be added. And that will be coming soon. I will likely start uploading that one probably when the FE4 finishes chapter 8. I'll probably end up just alternating between the two of them or something like that, which will be relatively soon. FE4 is at this point very close to having finished chapter 8, but yeah, that's where I am at now with that. As always, thank you for watching, and like, comment, and subscribe. Bye bye.